what lurks below the ground. In the case of the historic Muhlenberg House, currently under restoration in Trappe, Pennsylvania, there is an exciting ruin on the grounds, awaiting further exploration.
We were conducting excavations and came across a stone construction which did not at all conform with what we would have expected to be porch features or even an attached extension to the Muhlenberg House. And so as we investigated it further, it became more and more obvious that this was some kind of small industrial facility. And that's when we called in Betty Siebucher.
Bill's field supervisor called me on the telephone and said, "Betty, I need your help. I think I've got a kiln." Or really it was, "I don't know what I've got, but I think it's a kiln. Can you come out and look at it?" And he described it to me. And immediately I said, "Okay, I'll come down and look at your artifacts." And I brought a book with me. And I opened the book and I said, "Is this what you found?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "You've got a kiln."
I was here when the stones were being uncovered, first various foundations and intersecting foundations, and when we finally discovered the base of the kiln, our wonderment, that's what really was there, I think, and excitement just increased many-fold.
Just when we thought we had solved all of the problems or all of the challenges with the architectural investigation, the archaeological investigation began to reveal all manner of new clues and new structural remains, which continued to reveal the site as one of the most interesting we've ever worked on, one of the most complex.
The Historical Society, in buying the house, bought it not only to preserve it and save it from demolition, but to begin to deal with the history of the Muhlenberg family and the meaning of the family and the house to the community as well as to the county. With the leadership of this family, we have contributions to the life of the whole nation, really, in the period of the Revolutionary War.
Through our knowledge of the site, we were able to ascertain almost immediately that this kiln had to have been in operation in the mid-18th century and probably didn't post-date 1770. Radiating out from this kiln site, we can follow a lot of tracks in the historical records that are very important. We can go into the colonial kitchen, we can go into the colonial farmstead in terms of the buttery or the brew house or the manufacturing of household food for processing. We go into industry, into transportation, into trade, into science. What did people know about fabrication of materials? Trade. How far away can we find vessels of this type? Did they travel in the local community? Did they go into Philadelphia? Were they loaded onto ships and sent to the Caribbean or to Nova Scotia? We can learn a lot about what these people knew compared to the English counterparts in the large commercial potteries in Stoke or in Bristol, so that we can get some idea of how the colonies compared to the mother country. One of the problems that we have in dealing with colonial industries is the fact that the Lords of Trade and Plantation severely limited the kinds of manufacturing that could be done in the colonies, so that the true extent of a lot of these industries simply were not reported to England. The evidence for a colonial potting industry, if you look in the usual kinds of records such as tax lists, deeds, and wills, and inventories of the estate of deceased individuals, is very slender. The poor potter of Yorktown was no poor potter. He owned about 3/4 of the Yorktown waterfront and was an extremely successful potter whose wares have been found from the Caribbean to Nova Scotia. And he was reported as a poor potter in the tax list. We have iron masters being reported as blacksmiths. And we have potters being recorded as yeomen. The remains that we find through archaeology is sometimes the only material evidence that we have for the extent of some of these industries, because the rest of the industry has not been recorded, or in many cases has been under-recorded. What's exciting about this kiln, first of all, is that we don't have a pottery kiln in Pennsylvania from the 18th century, although we do have sites where potters worked, and we have the debris from 18th century potteries. I believe this is the first pottery kiln where the whole kiln has actually been found in place.
Urban development has likely destroyed many examples of these sort of industrial facilities.
We have no idea what these potters were making and how they worked and what technology was available to them and what materials were available to them and whose traditions they were potting in.
Very frequently we find little or nothing of interest, and so we consider ourselves very lucky when we become involved in a project that has such a potential to make a major contribution to knowledge of the colonial era in Pennsylvania and in the United States, or colonial America in general.
We think it's going to be a wonderful story to tell and incorporate with how a community develops and how all these people participated in the development of our nation.
I have been able to hypothesize what a kiln would look like, and I have read about kilns, and I have studied in England and looked at kilns in England, but I have never seen one in this country.
We had no idea that this kiln existed on the property.
I've been looking for this site for 23 years.